And welcome back to LinkedIn Logs, the jobs podcast for the website. I am so loud. CPlusComedy.com. Like I just said, his website. Go there. Welcome back in. Here we are, post dog park. I took Maverick to the dog park. If you hear him panting in the background, actually, I could probably show you. He's over. Yep, look at him. Look at him. If you're watching the video, you get to see Maverick laying in front of the TV. Coincidentally, the same place he had diarrhea this morning. I'm not kidding. Walked in from the gym, and it's just on the ground. I am low on paper towels. You can see the cleaning product I used. That's from the pandemic. That cleaning product's from the pandemic. They sold it at Home Depot. My mom was like, "Go to Home Depot and get this. It'll fight back against the germs." And how many times did I use it during the pandemic? Like maybe less than 4, definitely. So either 1, 2, or 3, or 0. And now I just use it because it's a heavy duty cleaner. I use it to clean whenever I need to. 2 weeks ago, I cleaned up his pee in front of the door. And then last week he peed, I think it was Sunday morning, going into Sunday morning because we went to the dog park on Saturday. And I know this is a jobs podcast. I'll get to it. Episode 76. And we went to the dog park Saturday, as we usually do. Saturday morning and afternoon, where he drank a lot of water. I gave him an entire bottle of water. It's a little dog bottle. And then I took him out at 4 or 5, and then I took him out again at like 7 or 8. And even still, he just likes to be hydrated. And then I woke up on Sunday and he just peed in front of the door, and I went, okay. But I bathed him Saturday afternoon after we got back from the dog park. I used that same towel that I dried him with to clean up the pee. It wasn't that much. It wasn't more than that diarrhea to clean up this morning. Welcome back in. That's the story of my life. The story of my life. Come take you home. I drive all night. Who is that? The Jonas Brothers? Let me Google that. Story of my life song. One Direction. Speaking of the Jonas Brothers, Joe Jonas has a new album out. I listened to one song and I went, I get it. And then I saved the album to my YouTube Music. Let's get back to jobs. I took 2 weeks off of every single podcast I do. One, because there's nothing to talk about. And then I come here and see that I had 2 stories lined up. So that's my fault. And then 2, I just didn't feel like it. This is what happens. But we're back. Here we are. What's been going on in the time that I've been away? And by away, I mean here in my apartment. I don't do anything. I don't have a life. In the time I've been away, what have I done in terms of jobs? Well, yesterday was June 2nd was the final day for this Disney writing program submission, and I'd submitted to before. What's it called? Disney writing program. Yeah, Disney writing program. It's a Disney writing program, and I knew about it. I knew it was. This is a month. It was on my calendar. I didn't submit this year. I fulfilled all the requirements except with the exception of the 2 essays, and it just wasn't something that I wanted to put a lot of energy into. For if 20,000 people submit to it, there's I'm not saying there's no point, but I didn't want to I don't want to do that. There's not a lot of these writing packet submission things that are free. But when you find one, when you find a program like the Disney Writing Program, or I think NBC Universal has one, Nickelodeon might have one, but when you find these programs, there's also tens of thousands of people also doing the same thing. And again, I've done it before in the past. I'm not being a negative Nancy and saying it's a waste of time. This year, I just felt like I didn't I didn't have the need to, I didn't have the need to do it. Not like oh, I'm fine. I'm living in luxury. I just had to calibrate my treadmill yesterday. I'm not living in luxury. This thing that is outdated. I had to spray it down with rust protection stuff, or rust remover, not protection, because it was rusted. It's making a creaking noise when it goes up to 15, which is the 15% incline, which is the reason I bought it. But the motor is so weak. And then I was looking at, I use it with Peloton, and I was looking at like a chart of how fast some motors are for treadmills. And I saw the Peloton tread. It is about 12 seconds faster, which is why, because the HIIT class, I take a lot of the HIIT classes, at least once a week. I take a HIIT class on Peloton for a treadmill, and they don't give enough time for people who don't have a Peloton tread. And I've seen the numbers for the sales of Peloton treads. I see a lot of them on Facebook Marketplace. People don't have this thing. They should. What I'm saying is, they need to start programming better. I could do a whole podcast on the things that Peloton needs to do. This morning, I'm in the middle of, and I'll get back to jobs in a second. I'm in the middle of a program with Peloton called the Power Zone Endurance Program. I don't know. Matt Wilpers is in charge of it. I opened up the Peloton app. If you're wondering what I'm doing as I am looking off screen, it's called the Boost Your Base Power Zones ride. If you're watching the video, you can see Matt Wilpers right there. And it is 9 weeks of 3 classes a week, varying in lengths between 30 minutes, and Saturday will be 90 minutes. And I'm looking forward to that. This past Saturday was 75 minutes. And I'd never done a cycling class that long. I've done collectively 75 minutes of classes in one day. I did that this morning. But I've never done one 75-minute class. So I did 10 minutes of a warm-up and then 10 minutes of a cool-down plus that. It was fantastic. Matt Wilpers is the best. But there's other people, because he's not the only one teaching in this collection of classes. There's other people who are just not good. Now, there's one in particular. And as I said, yesterday's June 2nd. Today is June 3rd. You can go and look on Peloton and see who taught this morning. Or in the June 2nd class I took this morning, June 3rd. They're not good. Anyway. I'm just not a big mental health person. Anyway, let's move on. This comes from the New York Times. It's an old story, but something I want to talk about. Written by Michael M. Grinbaum, because Michael B. Grinbaum was Benjamin Mullen and Lauren Hirsch. I'm not embarrassed. Head of CBS News is forced out amid tensions with Trump. We know that people like Bill Owens have left, but now Wendy McMahon, the president of CBS News and stations, also left. Bill Owens was the executive producer of 60 Minutes. The reason why this is happening is because Paramount is in talks to settle a $20 billion lawsuit brought on by Trump that accused 60 Minutes of editing an interview with then Democratic opponent Kamala Harris for the presidency, where they took an answer in which she was rambling and truly just chopped out the first 2/3 and put in the thesis statement of her answering that question. It happens all the time. I can look at interviews. Look at interviews that I've done. And so the only reason that it was pointed out is because they teased the interview using a clip from the interview, obviously, and they put in that answer. And then during the final edit of the interview, which has to have a runtime, they trimmed it down in order to fit in other things. Again, that's what interviews are. I do that when it comes to putting out videos on fucking TikTok, for that I'm talking about when I talk to somebody. If I'm sitting down to talk to name somebody famous you've spoken to, Chad. Helen Hong. Guess what I'm going to do? If she gives a 3-minute answer to my 20-second question, I'm going to take my 20-second question, I'm going to put up top, and then I'm going to try to get her answer down to 1 minute. And I'm literally not, I'm not moving her words or anything. I'm just cutting things out that are extraneous so I can put it on TikTok and Instagram. This is coming from a person who hosted their own deceptive show in The Apprentice, and quite frankly, there's probably a 70,000 minutes worth of things that were cut down, that were trimmed down from that abysmal show. Anyway, Paramount is trying to merge with Skydance at this point, and they're just trying to settle their lawsuits in the same way that ABC and George Stephanopoulos had to settle lawsuits when Trump was the lawsuit from Trump when he sued them because of something George Stephanopoulos said, which by all means was innocuous. CNN is in the same boat with they let Jim go, but it's ridiculous how because this person has appointed people in charge of the FCC and the FTC and other businesses that tie in with television and film and news operation, these companies are not even just bending a knee, but they're bending over and opening up their buttholes so that this guy can come and screw them over. I already said fuck earlier, but the idea that I would not take my analogy all the way to the X-rated. I understand why they're doing this, but you can fight back. I saw on something George Stephanopoulos said something yesterday or 2 days ago that he just slammed Trump and the family and his family for corruption that they continue doing, and they just settled a $16 million ABC lawsuit. I would keep talking shit no matter what. But Sherry Redstone wants to line her pockets up in order to get this multi-billion-dollar sale of Paramount done with Skydance. And then let's say it goes through. Well, then what then? Is CBS going to operate in the same way? I don't feel like it's going to operate in the same way if we just show them kowtowing. Executives at Paramount had expressed concern about Ms. McMahon's performance for months, apparently. She took over the news division August 2023. Her detractors pointed to an overhaul of CBS Evening News that sent its ratings plummeting. What they're talking about is how Maurice Dubois and John Dickerson took over for Norah O'Donnell. And they made it a little bit more of a dynamic show. It's like if PBS NewsHour, a show I love, a show I watch on a daily basis, had a little bit more flavor to it. But I gotta tell you, these shows don't need flavor because they're news shows. I don't want to see Jake Tapper selling his book about Biden. Withholding news. CNN used to be... It's so funny how Zaslav and Mark Thompson want CNN to be down the middle, but now they're basically center right. Anyway, McMahon's detractors pointed to an overhaul of CBS Evening News that sent its ratings plummeting, and her handling of an October incident involving the CBS Mornings anchor Tony Dokoupil, where there was an interview where he was talking to Ta-Nehisi Coates about his new book, and he challenged the author's views about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. Tony Dokoupil is Jewish, I believe, but I think it was a pretty innocuous question. Not compared to some of the things that you see on cable news channels at periods. We are at a point where, but even before, like, even after the first term of our current president, even after the first term, we are now at a dire point where news has to make a decision on what's going to happen, not just for the next 3.5 years, but for the next 100, the next 20, 50, 100. I went from 100, 20, 50 to 100 again. If news, cable, print, online, hell, even this stuff on TikTok and YouTube, those people that call themselves news journalists, people have to be in control when it comes to delivering their news, and not withhold information and put it in a book, and not fight against a lawsuit, a frivolous lawsuit, the definition of frivolous that comes against them because a big orange baby is mad about something that somebody said about him. They have to do their jobs in such a way that the consequences, even when they don't deserve them, they have to fight back. You are a news organization, then do it. ABC, NBC, CBS, ABC again, ABC again, CNN, MSNBC, Axios, PBS NewsHour. When these accusations, this is why PBS joined in on that lawsuit with NPR and other public news entities for the defunding of them. This is such a smart, and obviously if you know PBS, this was going to happen. They're fighting against the First Amendment, and now ABC and CBS and NBC and and CNN and the rest. When you have the proof, it doesn't matter if a judge is appointed by the president or not. When you have the proof, fight back. I was going to curse again. Try not to. Fight back. Stop playing this mental health shit. Fight. All right, anyway. Let's move on. This comes from Nelly Andriva. This happened yesterday. Deadline. Disney laying off hundreds in TV and film entertainment corporate finance. We're at this point again in the entertainment business where more layoffs are happening. This is after, and I understand there are different legs of the company, but this is after Lilo and Stitch has brought in almost $500 million at the box office in 2 weeks. How do you make a Lilo and Stitch remake, live action, and not have Gantu in it? It's ridiculous. Make the bad guys who were some of the good guys before. That's like making a Scooby-Doo movie, a live-action Scooby-Doo movie, and making Scrappy-Doo the villain. That's the original Scooby-Doo movie from 2000, I think. Oh, before those towers fell. And then 2002, we saw Scooby-Doo 2. Is that what it's called? I used to own both of those movies on DVD. They're one of the few movies that I sold off. Not because I didn't like them or anything. It's because I needed money to buy more DVDs. When I was a young boy, I used to go to CD Warehouse. They used to give me like $2. He used to trade in like 10 DVDs so I get one DVD. Now we're on the Blu-ray and 4K, baby. Layoffs hit Disney with several hundred employees impacted globally. The bulk of them are across divisions of Disney Entertainment, including marketing for both film and television, as well as television publicity, casting, and development. Also affected are Disney's corporate financial operations. The size of the cuts, according to sources on the film and TV side of Disney, is comparable. No teams are being eliminated. The majority of the Disney Entertainment television staffers are said to be based in Los Angeles. Deadline will continue to coverage, blah, 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 blah. Some of the names have been released. We've got people like Eric Suri, who's a VP for casting for 20th Television. He worked on some Ryan Murphy shows. What? So he's leaving VP casting for 20th, and he's moving over to 911 Nashville. So it seems like he's making a lateral move. Tony Thompson, VP of Content Development at Hulu Originals, has been there for 6 years, but now he's gone. And there's some other lower level execs at ABC Hulu who have been let go as well. Well, this is we're going to see this happen across the board when it comes to the media, the entertainment industry. In fact, for ABC Signature, that was shut down in October, we saw restructuring with other companies being folded into places like 20th Television, and we're going to see that a lot of consolidation. We saw that at Warner Brothers. Consolidation happening when it comes to the family stuff. I think Cartoonito, which was a block that started when I was at Cartoon Network, that ended last week or 2 weeks ago. Last week, I believe, and it's now gone. That was their Disney Junior, their Nick Jr. It's a bad time to launch it. They should have launched it, I don't know, maybe 3 years earlier. Maybe 5 years earlier. Maybe 10 years earlier. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a couple of more rounds of layoffs, but I don't think anything quite as big for the rest of the year. The latest cuts follow Disney's better than expected Q2 earnings last month, fueled largely by experiences in sports, with streaming also delivering strong results as direct-to-consumer operating profit increased by $289 million to $289 million to $336 million. We saw that I saw a story that said the ad-supported side of streaming has become increasingly popular, especially as the ongoing buzzword tariffs, as the ongoing tariffs happen, and we just have this economic uncertainty. People, they want to keep their streaming services, and those who are able will go down to ad supported. I know I've gone down to ad supported for Netflix, Disney, Hulu, and Max, except one of those is a bundle with Max and Disney and Hulu. I've just gotten rid of ESPN Plus entirely. It's not that I didn't watch it. It's just that it was a good trade-off, because all the golf I need is, if it's going to be a major tournament and I want to watch 15 hours of golf a day, it'll be on Peacock. Otherwise, they didn't have basketball. I don't care about college sports. A lot of the only other thing, it would be like 30 for 30, and a lot of those exist on Hulu. Other than that, I don't really miss it. But at the annual shareholder meeting earlier this spring, Iger spoke about creating new jobs, largely in Disney experiences, including the theme parks. That's one thing that he took from Bob Chapek, who came from the experiences in the theme parks, is that could be, and a lot in the same way that blockbusters like the Fantastic Four and other Thunderbolts. I couldn't think of one other movie, Thunderbolts, like how those movies, and I'll take Andor season 2. Andor, not and/or. I have this very bad joke every time I see Andor on Disney Plus, because all I use Disney Plus is to watch The Simpsons and to watch Doctor Who. Every time I see Andor, I always think I say this out loud. They should have called the second season "But Also." Anyway, when you have shows like Andor that cost $650 million to make, and then you have movies like Thunderbolts and this upcoming Fantastic Four that is looking to be the definitive Fantastic Four compared to the 3 other movies that exist. And that TV movie too, so 4 other movies that exist. Those are the things that help prop up the House of Mouse. And then that allows them, they don't do it a lot, that allows them to do a lot of smaller scale projects that they typically wouldn't want to fork over the cash for. The same thing can be said for Netflix, which also sometimes does the same thing. There's not a lot of times where they do it. Warner used to do it a lot. Peacock would do it, but they don't have a lot of blockbusters. NBC Universal's, unless it's a Minions movie. I just watched Dogman. I really liked it. I thought Maverick would watch it. He only appeared up at the TV every so often. Now, speaking of Iger, this comes from Brent Lang and Todd Spangler over at Variety. Media CEO pay packages in 2024. The Air Up There, as we know, I've spoken about a couple of episodes ago. I believe episode 73 was, what is going on with these wires and this cable on this goddamn mic? Episode 73, I spoke about David Zaslav's pay. In 2024, they saw just an increase when it came to how much money they made, even though film and TV production in the U.S. has not been at the numbers it was in the pre-pandemic. It rose last year, but lagged 2022 levels, according to ProPro, which tracks studio productions. Theatrical ticket sales fell 3.3% in 2024 and remain nearly 25% down from pre-pandemic levels. This is before the advent of Lilo and Stitch and Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. I think this will be a good year, a good summer for movies. I know I will go see a lot of movies, but that doesn't mean everybody else is. Also, I saw Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning, and I understand it's a popular movie. It came out on Memorial Day weekend, and people weren't working. But I'm somebody who doesn't go in an office, so I go see movies on Tuesdays at noon or 10 a.m., whenever, the earliest I possibly can. I knew it was going to be a little bit busy. Shut up when you're in a theater. Just stop talking. So sick of it. I've spoken about this on Constitutionals. I'm going to bring it over here. Tech giants like Amazon and Apple are now trying to find their way into the movie and television space, but more importantly, the movie space, and they're finding it hard. It's very difficult, and it costs a lot of money. This is why Apple, when I think the number was like $5 billion or something like that, or they reserved $1 billion, something like that, or $3 billion, I don't know. But they took away some money from their movie and television division because you don't get a lot of that back. You're not going to be in the green. Your name is going to be out there, and people will want to do productions with you, but you're not going to be in the green pretty much ever. And you have to learn that. You can't just release movies at home and think it's going to be good. Look at Disney. Iger last year, I was just reading about this, a Lilo and Stitch article in the New York Times talking about, let me pick it up because I don't want to be rude and say that this was something that I came up with. It was a Lilo and Stitch article. I guess I have to search for it. Discussing why Lilo and Stitch did such a good job, is doing such a good job at the box office. It's going to be at least $950 million projected. This comes from Brooks Barnes at the New York Times. It's titled "How Lilo and Stitch Became One of the Most Profitable Movies in Years." And the thing that one of the big takeaways is that I did not know this happened, but Ted Sarandos from Netflix was cajoling Iger and the rest of the theatrical industry, not just Iger, but just the theatrical industry in general, saying, why would you do this? Like, it doesn't, let's see. He pointed out to how expensive the big flop of Snow White was, saying, what does that say? What is the consumer trying to tell us? That they'd like to watch movies at home. Thank you. That's not necessarily true when you look at Netflix and you look at their over budgeted and overly colored movies that all look the same. They all have the same lighting and they all more or less play the same at home, be they dramas or action movies or comedies or whatever. I just watched Havoc and I don't remember anything from the movie Havoc. It's ridiculous. It's it's when a movie like Lilo and Stitch does well, and yes, it is this thing that is holding up the smaller portions of Disney, the TV shows and the movies and the things that they take that money from, and they're going to make roughly $300 million if they make this $1 billion. Disney will make $300 million in profit, which they could spread out amongst other productions, which is not, they're not going to do all $300 million across other productions, obviously. But it's, these things, it's important for us to have places to go and watch these movies and have these experiences. Case in point, not theaters. Theaters and plays and stuff like that, concerts, and even referencing back to what I was getting at earlier are these theme parks, these Disney experiences that help prop up the movies. Disney's not just one company. They don't just do one thing. They do movies, TV shows, sometimes video games, sometimes, and they were all built from the park going experience. So in some ways, I don't even know if I'm gonna say that. So there's nothing positive to say there. Anyway, Ted's wrong. So now at this point in time, we have a lot of cutbacks and layoffs happening, but we have these people like Ted Sarandos, like David Zaslav, like Bob Iger, and I like Iger, like Bob Bakish, who is now gone. I like Bob Bakish, but he's gone from Paramount. We saw their pay packages rise, and we are seeing people get laid off because the only thing to these companies that really matters is how well their productions do, or in the case of Netflix, how many minutes are watched, how many hundreds of minutes. We've got 70 million minutes of the new season of Obelisk and Asterix. People watched it. Doesn't matter. In the end, how many people stick with it, and then also, how many people go see a movie? Doesn't matter how many minutes are watched, because I could stop right now and not watch the rest of what is it? Obelisk and Asterix? Obelisk and Asterix. That goes to show you what I know. Now, there have been reports about how much these CEOs would be making, no matter what. Their performance is good or bad. Zaslav bad. As long as the company grows, their pockets will grow. The CEO's pockets will grow. I'm going to scroll down. This is a very decent piece to read through in order to get a sense of how compensation works. Iger for 2024, Bob Iger, for Disney made $41.4 million, which is an increase of 31%. The median employee compensation is $55,111. Iger pay ratio to median employees 746. He received a $7 million bonus. You also have to keep in mind that Disney, with his leadership, released a movie like Deadpool and Wolverine, which was one of the highest. It was the highest grossing R-rated film ever, and it tied into a popular universe that is still ongoing. And Iger had a successful 2024. The show Shogun was a hit for FX and Hulu. And yes, by the way, it won so many awards. For Iger's efforts, his relatively modest $1 million salary got augmented by more than $30 million in stock options and awards, as well as $523,685 in personal air travel and $1.4 million in security. There you go. Ted Sarandos made, for Netflix, he's a co-CEO, $61.9 million, which is plus 24.3%. And Greg Peters made, as a co-CEO for Netflix, $60.3 million. And his is up 50.2%. The median employee at Netflix makes $215,000, $503. And Sarandos and Peters' pay ratio to median employee was 287 over 280 and 280. It was Netflix is just leagues ahead, streets ahead when it comes to, as a reference to Community, streets ahead when it comes to the streaming race. Globally, they are just a more than what a powerhouse is. I mean, they've lapped competitors time after time, and they will, unless there is a complete mess up, they will never be, like, no one will ever be close. Disney is closest, but no one will ever be close. The company targeted $40 million in total compensation apiece. Both got more than 50% of that thanks to the streamer's stellar performance. The company ended up with 301.6 million subscribers, which is up 16%, and in 2024. And there was an operating income of more than $10 billion. The stock soared 89%. They both received $12 million cash plus, bonus plus stock valued at $42.7 million. Reed Hastings' pay package dropped $1.7 million. He's the co-founder and chairman of Netflix. But he owned $4.23 million in Netflix, 4.2 million Netflix shares as of early April. Netflix has the money, and this is what they're doing. They're paying their employees pretty much well. I wish that these numbers would also include an account for the people working on the productions, because time after time you hear that the artists, the actors, the producers, not the ones who aren't big name, the actors, the producers, the writers, the directors, the costumers, the sound mixers, the sound engineers, the everybody, did I say costumers? Music, literally, like, everybody else is not getting paid well. They're more or less doing the job and then looking for the other thing. This is why when the strikes happened, we saw people having to dip into, GoFundMe's and go to and ask for money from the Writers Guild and the Directors Guild or whatever, because people just, these are gigs, more or less, when you are not a salaried employee making $215,000 a year. And yes, that includes the actors. If you're not Adam Sandler, you're not making money. You're acting, and then you're going to the next thing. Also, I watched the Kennedy Center honors featuring Conan O'Brien, which was honoring Conan O'Brien. And usually it's on Paramount Plus or CBS. This year was on Netflix. I believe before it was on Netflix as well, at least for maybe Kevin Hart, maybe Dave Chappelle. I don't remember. Anyway, I'm not going to look it up. Maybe Letterman. But how often, and I'll tell you this, I put it on and I just kind of let it go in the background. Sometimes I did peer up and look and watch people, but I would go to the kitchen, which is you see right there. I would go cook, but I could still see the TV. Almost every time I looked up at the TV, they cut to Ted Sarandos. I don't give a hoot that he's there. The idea, and the studio did a send-up of this, and yet Ted Sarandos was still, like, he's still living it. Where they made fun of CEOs wanting to be thanked in a speech, and Seth Rogen's character wanted to be thanked by Zoe Kravitz, and Ted Sarandos made this cameo, and people were like, Ted Sarandos, yeah. The only people that were like that were entertainment journalists. I don't think one person was like, "Oh, Ted Sarandos was pretty cool." But the problem is he is that he's a hypocrite for like he wants that. He wants to be noticed. He walks the red carpets with and look, I'll work with Netflix in a heartbeat. But I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna call you out, buddy. You're walking the red carpets. I don't want to watch the Golden Globes and have a camera cut to in the audience laughing at whatever the host said, or I don't want to watch the Emmys and see you chuckling in the front row. I don't want to watch. Well, you're not going to be at the Oscars again, my man. Oh my God, Ted again. I'll do anything. But I shouldn't. People shouldn't know who these people are, and the idea that they're making tens of millions of dollars to say I'm canceling this show, this good show, and keeping on some show from TLC, which we'll get to in a second, is ridiculous. Zaslav made $51.9 million, which is up 4.4%. Media employee compensation is $130,000. Zaslav's pay ratio to media employees $398. If it is $130,000, that's not what I was making at CNN. And it's not what I was making at Cartoon Network. I'll tell you this much: it was about $70,000 less. And that was for Cartoon Network. It was about $90,000 less at CNN. Few would point to the marriage of Warner Brothers and Discovery and declare it a glittering success. The media conglomerate's market cap hovers at $22 billion, roughly half of where it stood in 2022 when the companies joined forces. And at this point, the way that the company's trending, I don't think that it's ever going to be back in the same place. It won't. While the name, because they are changing it they're changing the streaming service Max back to HBO Max. While HBO still holds prestige, while you can still put out movies like Mountainhead, while you can still put out shows like The Gilded Age, while that works for what it is now, it's again half of what it is. It's not good. Zaslav's compensation package includes $23.9 million in bonuses, which is more than 100% the target amount, as well as $3 million base salary, another $23 million in stock awards, a $17,446 car allowance, and 250 hours of personal flight time each year on the corporate jet. What strange contingencies, especially that car allowance, to have a driver drive you around and you have Jerry, I only have $446 more. You gotta stop. I'll walk. I've said it before, and you don't need $23 million in bonuses, especially when you did a piss poor job running that company last year, buddy boy, buddy old pal of mine. And it's also quite fascinating to me how these base salaries for Iger are $1 million, for Zaslav $3 million. How these base salaries are comparatively low to the total sum, and it's these bonuses that skyrocket your worth, in quotes, upwards. If I were in that position, I've said it before. A lot of this show is just me repeating. I would just give me that $3 million salary, and I'm sure, and the stocks are fine, whatever. The stock awards are fine, but you don't need those bonuses. I would just turn that loose to the rest of the company and just pay people. And so we can make a much better product. The reason why people stick with something like Netflix is because they throw paint at the wall and some of it sticks. Whether that's a good, obviously for them it's good, and for the consumer it's not really that good. But whether that's a good idea or bad, it's working. For Disney Plus, they put out more of a quality thing, and also they retain a lot of what they own. So for Disney and for Hulu and for ESPN Plus, with all those streaming services, you can be pretty much set for $25 or $26 a month and be completely fine, because you have access to pretty much everything in any genre you want. But when it comes to Max, they don't have that. They keep losing things, and now they have this lightweight thing. Like if I went to lightweight thing that people don't really want to stick with. If I was a subscriber to Spotify, and I'm not because their app is just way too much for me. But if I was a subscriber to Spotify and they had audiobooks and they had podcasts and they had music, but they took away the podcast and they took away the music, and I was just left with audiobooks. Well, then what's the point? Because I came to Spotify for these certain things. Hey, I can listen to Never Not Funny, and then if I'm sick of listening to a podcast, then let me go listen to the new Rihanna album. It's not out. All right, well I'm done with that. Let me listen to Lauren by Susan Morrison. They also get into Fox Corp and Comcast and Apple and Amazon. Andy Jassy. Oh, Andy Jassy only made $1.6 million. Whoa, look at that. Oh, but he has a lot of stock. Oh my goodness, he has a lot of stock. Jesus. About $41.1 million for realized compensation. Anyway, okay. That's it. That's what that is. These CEOs who, when I scroll through this list, are all white men, are just completely out of touch with what the consumer wants at this point. And it is, and yes, while Disney and Netflix are doing well, it makes me wonder, because to some extent they are kind of answering what people want, although they're not doing it completely. If I want a turkey sandwich and they give me a turkey sandwich, I think I don't know what turkey is, but I'll eat it because it looks like turkey. It tastes like turkey. And then but then they also answer consumer demands that they didn't even know were there. Shogun is doing well. Obviously people like that Sherlock. What's the Millie Bobby Brown Sherlock Holmes movie? People like that, so they make a second one. I don't know what that's called. But then when you look down at Comcast, which has Peacock and NBC Universal, when you look down at Warner Brothers, which has Warner Brothers and Discovery stuff, it's just, and make no mistake, David Zaslav, not one person on this planet Earth gives a flying fuck about Discovery over Warner Brothers or HBO Max. Or people see that as an addition to. If they want Discovery stuff, they'll go find Discovery stuff on Discovery Plus. But we want Food Network stuff in addition to the HBO and the Cartoon Network and the TNT. Also, it was so heartbreaking watching the final episodes of Inside the NBA. Just to watch those people. Yes, they'll be working, but they'll probably be doing half of the stuff half of the time. And also, Dan Patrick hosted an interview with Charles Barkley yesterday, and Barkley revealed that TNT they shot a pilot for a new type of show that was essentially a sports talk show, essentially Inside the NBA, but shorter, and they didn't have the rights to NBA clips, obviously, so they were just doing what Barkley said was stupid shit. And at the end of it, everybody agreed, including TNT. They were like, that's pretty dumb. Why did we do this? Oh, my God. I wonder if this is going to stop me from getting a job. It's like, it'd be really funny if if I land a job at Disney and it's like high up and Iger is like, oh, let me see what this young producer has done this past, and he just listens to episodes of this show and he's like, this guy, I like Iger, he's fine. Listen, if you like what you heard here, head to the website cpluscomedy.com where you can see me talk to famous people sometimes. There's an interview coming out soon on the Constitutionals, which is the entertainment business news show. And I'll be, is that coming out in 2 weeks? It might be coming out next week. We'll see. Which is the entertainment business news show. And if you want to listen to the other podcast, which is Late Night Lately. It's a late night show that comes out on Fridays, and the Constitutionals comes out on Thursdays. This show comes out on Tuesdays, hopefully. You can watch a video version of all the podcasts on youtube.com/C+comedy. You can follow us on social media, TikTok, Instagram, and Blue Sky @C+comedy. Me @ChadBlackWhite. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye.